I keep getting Temu ads for things, like if I'm playing a game on my phone, and it's always like, do you want a shirt that says something? It's like, an aunt is a best friend, and when your best friend is your aunt, and she was in the military, and you're like, who the fuck? What do you think I am? This is so weird.
Joe, what games are you playing on your phone? Are you like Candy Crush, man?
Auntie Marine.
Auntie Marine.
Shut up and take my money.
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Single Parents. Single Parents went 45 episodes over 2 seasons on ABC. Today we're talking about episode 1, which was called Pilot, originally airing September 26, 2018. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me as always, the boys, all of the boys, Joe, Ferg, Nick, and Gordo. What's going on, everybody?
Oh,
Heyo.
full strength.
Hello.
Your pants are making my baby cry. I actually just heard my baby cry in the background too, and was like, well, that's the one I have to say.
But you said it was called Pilot? I thought it was called The Cool Kids.
No.
Huh?
Yeah,
Segway.
it's weird. I guess just to clue everyone in, we're doing our like preliminary stuff and like getting ready for the show. And for whatever reason, when you go to Rotten Tomatoes, the show's listed as The Cool Kids. So then it was like, oh, maybe they changed the name of the show after a season, or that was an early name. Nothing else on Earth has it listed as The Cool Kids, but it even has a graphic like where it says The Cool Kids with their pictures. So I have no idea.
The TV show The Cool Kids came out the same year, 2018. That's the one with like Martin Mull and Vicki Lawrence and
David Allen Greer.
Yeah, where they all live in
I remember that show.
So I think that's where the hiccup is. I just don't know how or why.
What?
That's the
I
hiccup.
just got to ask, when it's David Allen Greer, right? Not.
Yeah.
Okay. When you think of him, what is the first movie you think of? In the Army Now? Yes. Thank you, Ferg. It's In the Army Now.
Mine was Blank Man.
Oh, that's a good one too, actually.
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
I was going to say maybe Jumanji wasn't it, but it was what I said first. So I guess it was. So, but
And then to follow that up, Gordo, do you know who that is?
no
Yes,
way.
I do.
You're looking it up right now. I saw you looking down.
To be fair, though, I'd put money that Gordo has seen Blank Man.
I've seen Blank Man. I've seen Jumanji.
Me and Gordo used to rent Blank Man like almost every
Yeah.
other week from Sound Systems.
It's a movie
Love
with
that movie.
a fart joke like every 5 seconds. That is a movie Gordo loves.
But it's not as good as Meteor Man. Just saying.
With Robert Townsend?
In any event, just to go over, since I brought up Rotten Tomatoes had this as critics with a 75%, 91% audience score, and then IMDb 7.2. So pretty well liked show, but it only lasted the 2 years. So kind of interesting, but it's also a show that, like a lot of the more modern sitcoms, I don't think they get promoted well enough.
I want to say I found this through like one of those. You know how sometimes you're watching something and Hulu just starts playing something? It must have been when the first season was going on, and then we started watching it after that, but I didn't see it, or I think it's CBS. This has come up a lot of times at CBS shows.
Yeah.
This one's ABC.
No, this was Oh, you're
No,
right.
ABC it is, yeah.
Oh, this is ABC? Well, then even more so, because I have no idea what's on ABC.
Well, ABC actually has a knack for canceling shows super early. They're very impatient with shows. Like Cavemen. They didn't even let it go a whole year.
ABC? You mean always be canceling?
There you go. But season 1 of this did very well in the ratings, and I guess when it came back for season 2, no one even realized it came back. And like it goes back to what you said. So they're like, oh, look at this huge drop off. Because I didn't even realize. I didn't see season 2 till it was done, and I was watching it weekly.
Ferg, you're the one who picked this show. Any particular reason that you wanted to cover it?
I just liked the show a lot. Like I said, I can't remember what was on before it, but I found it because it came on after whatever show I was watching. So I started watching it weekly, and I remember Joe mentioned he liked it too. So I just wanted something for when he came back.
And did
I appreciate that.
Nick, Gordo, did you guys watch this at all? I didn't.
Never even heard of it, no.
Me too.
This was a show that
Shocker.
I never. I don't want to say I never heard of it, but it's one of those like I just kind of remember seeing like an ad for it early on and just like paying no mind to it.
I will say this, and I will not I won't get into it anymore, but I cannot stand Taran Killam. I tried ignoring this.
That might really hurt this episode for you.
Yeah, I may have like seen this show in passing and just erased it from my mind because I couldn't stand him on SNL. I just don't like his. It's a very shallow hatred, by the way. There's no like real good reason for it. I just don't like him.
I don't know who that is.
The
The
main,
main
guy,
fucking
the guy who played
Character
Will.
of this show that we're watching that we're going to talk about for 2 hours.
Yeah, but your hatred could help because you're not in this episode. He's supposed to be corny and annoy you, so maybe
that's
that
true.
lead to
Yeah.
Taran Killam was, I mean, I think best known for being on SNL.
Oh
But-
yeah.
He came in at a weird time because he was like in one of those kind of transition periods where a lot of the kind of stars of that last generation were like there for a little crossover with them. And then I feel like he was intended to be like a breakout big star from the show. And it didn't quite pan out that way. He's had like a pretty good career and has done a lot of stuff. But I feel like the thought was we would look back and be like, oh, those were the years Taran Killam were on. And it didn't really amount to that.
Is he the only person on SNL who was also on Mad TV?
what? He was on both.
He did a year on Mad TV as
Oh,
well.
I
So
didn't
I don't know
know
if he's
that,
the only
no.
person who did both.
I don't know. I hadn't watched Mad TV.
I don't think that's true, but the names are escaping me at the moment.
Nick, you said he reminds you of a knockoff. Is it the dude from Workaholics that he reminds you of?
Which dude?
Anders?
Oh,
the hell-
Anders?
No,
Anders?
no, the one with the
Adam Devine there?
Adam Devine.
No, it's not him. I don't know. I feel like it's another SNL person that it's reminding me of. I don't know. It might come to me. It might not.
Was he on with like Bill Hader and like?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
crossover
Oh,
with
so
that.
the shitty SNL.
That wasn't shitty SNL.
That's
Bill
great.
Hader's so
That's
funny.
when I still liked
I would say that's the
SNL.
only SNL that's competed
And
with
Andy
the
Samberg.
That's a no, but
I'm going to go on record and say I don't think Andy Samberg is funny, but Bill Hader is very funny. And he was
No,
great
he's
on SNL.
not.
I do like Andy Samberg, and not to drift too far off, but I'll say as far as SNL goes, if you've paid attention for our whole lives, in the moment, everyone goes, oh, this is SNL's not good anymore. And then wait 5 years and look back, you go, oh, SNL was so good then. So-and-so and so-and-so was on it. And that's happened forever.
That or they just keep lowering the bar. So it's like each season's worse, so the other season seems better.
There's always something at least okay on it.
Also, Taran Killam is the second person who was also on Mad TV. The other person was Jeff Richards, who I don't know by name.
I don't know
Yeah,
who
I
that
remember
is.
Yeah, you do. It's Jeff Richards.
Jeff Richards.
Yeah, I'm looking at his face, and I still don't know who he is.
So you don't know him by face.
I don't know him. Period. I think is the main point here. Yeah.
So to get into this show, though, and real quick before we do, just want to remind everyone, S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find all the links where you can listen to us, all our social medias. Really want to encourage you guys to go follow us on Instagram and X specifically, but on everything. We like interacting with you guys, knowing shows you want us to cover, and just talking to you guys in general is always fun.
Help us get them follower numbers up, please.
Yes.
Yes.
And also, we have merch now, so there's a link to that too. So S1E1pod.com.
Yeah, look at Ferg's awesome
Yeah.
shirt.
Yeah, listen to
Or
Ferg's shirt.
Jay.
This is an audio thing, guys.
Okay, well, Ferg, buy me. I'm Ferg's shirt.
Is you can buy Ferg's shirt.
Specifically, yeah. And Gordo's bathwater.
Yeah. Oh.
Why is it full of dog hair?
My doodle does not shed, but it will have rust. I have rust in my bathtub, which is not healthy.
They shot that movie where the Baldwin killed the guy in your bathtub.
All right, so
Another
the show opens up.
unfunny SNL person.
So the show opens up, and it's the first day of first grade, and we're seeing all the parents kind of dropping their kids off at school. And this is kind of their way to introduce us to every character. We're kind of getting like individual moments with everyone, which I thought, as far as the first scene went, was kind of a pretty good way to kind of do that round about and kind of give everyone like a minute within the same like confines of the scene.
I'm glad they did it this way instead of like 5 minutes in you meet someone else, then 3 minutes later you meet somebody else. It lets everything work and sort of gel as a group instead of disparate stories.
Yeah, everyone kind of had like their moment.
I will say, like, I was pretty down on like the start of this show, and then Brad Garrett shows up, and I was
Yep.
like, okay, all right, maybe this is salvageable. And I mean, I obviously judged it really quickly, so I mean that's on me. But he's just so good.
He's great in the whole series too, which I haven't seen, but he's great in this episode.
The first person we see is Taryn's character, which is Will, and he's with his daughter, and it's like first day of first grade, and he's just trying to like make it so she's not nervous about the situation and like meeting new kids and everything that goes with that. Which is funny because like historically, Joe, like you and I have always said, like we met like first day of first grade. That's when we became friends. So it's kind of funny because it is pivotal, right?
And weirdly, your dad was singing Moana to us while it happened. I was like, this is so weird.
What is this song he wrote?
It's a really impressive songwriter.
Yeah, he's trying to talk to her about it. He made her like a necklace out of Post-it notes, and he's like, this is a magical amulet. And she's like, I'm not going to wear that. It's going to cause me more trouble than if I don't.
You want to know a weird rabbit hole? Google magical amulet and then hit shopping. And then just look at the insanity of things people buy and the money they pay for them.
And then how many of them are in Gordo's shopping cart right now, just waiting to be purchased?
Gordo's Temu shopping cart.
Listen, my Temu shopping cart is gross. Okay.
Okay.
Well, you ordered it from Temu, so you'll get it in 3 years.
No, they come actually pretty quick.
Oh, I'm thinking of Wish. You're right.
You know, you'll get it pretty quick, but then somebody also will use your credit card in a week.
Also, their algorithm is the worst algorithm ever because I keep getting Temu ads for things, like if I'm playing a game on my phone, and it's always like, do you want a shirt that says something? It's like, an aunt is a best friend, and when your best friend is your aunt, and she was in the military, and you're like, who the fuck? What do you think I am? This is so weird.
Joe,
Hold
just
on,
buy
Joe.
it and wear it ironically.
Joe, what games are you playing on your phone? Are you like Candy Crush Man?
Auntie Marine.
Marine.
Shut up and take my money.
One is called Ball Sort, where they put a bunch of colored balls in different tubes, and you gotta sort them out to the right color.
I played that game.
Oh, you killed Nick.
Nick died.
I was laughing at it. I was like, that's such a dumb name, but I played the game before.
It's a fun game. And then I also play Spider Solitaire.
You know, it's funny with the millions of games that exist for phones now. You play Spider Solitaire. Earlier today, I was like, no lie, playing Minesweeper at work on my phone.
You play the games that don't inundate you with ads, like, and those are the ones that you can just play.
Those are also classics too. Like, you know, you can just kill 5 minutes playing a round of Solitaire or something, or Minesweeper.
So next we see Angie, and she's with her son Graham, and she's doing the same thing. She's, you know, having that same kind of pep talk with her kid, and he's like worried about missing her. And I guess like one of his comforting things is like he needs her scarf. And I didn't know where it was going. And then when she gives him the scarf, he sniffs it. I was like, this is weird. Like, not that it was sexual. I don't want to make it sound like it came off sexual, but it was just odd.
The first of many cringes in this episode.
Yeah. And I'm actually surprised that Ferg likes this show with this character being involved.
Oh, I don't like
It's a
the
little
kids.
kid, though. It makes it different.
No,
No.
it makes it exceptionally.
If Brad Garrett grabbed Leighton Meester's scarf and was like, coconuts in safety, you'd be like, well, that's actually funny because it's Brad Garrett, but that'd be cringy.
We've talked ad nauseum about how annoying it is on sitcoms when kids are way past their age when they speak. And that's what he is. And it drives me insane. And I know it bugs Ferg too. So it's surprising.
Joe, you mentioned her. She was one of those people that as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, I definitely know her from something. What's the thing I know her from? And I look her up, and she's in a bunch of stuff, but like none of it's like what I think it would be. Like there's no like overwhelming like, oh, that's the thing I know her
Yeah,
from.
you just kind of like her face is just like, oh, I know who she is. Yeah.
Well, I think because she was huge on that show Gossip Girl, but like that wasn't our demographic, but that show was everywhere. So like you would have seen her a million times, but like we never would have watched that show back then, you know?
When I started this show, I had just finished Gossip Girl.
Never mind. Prove me wrong immediately, Ferg. I'm sorry.
The enigma that is Ferg, like, man, donate his brain to science. There's so much shit I need explained. And then next we meet Poppy, and she's with her son Rory. Rory's dressed like he has like this like velvet purple like blazer on.
He's dressed like Prince.
Kinda. And he's self-conscious about it. I guess he's very into style. And so we actually see it throughout the episode. But now that he's about to face kids, like he's like self-aware enough though to know that like this isn't typical clothing for other people. So he's like, oh, this was a bad choice. I shouldn't have done this. But the mom, to her defense, is very supportive of his decisions. Like, just be yourself. And that convinced him to just announce to the class, today I am a grape, which I thought was weird, but whatever.
He feels to me like he's the analog for Manny on
Oh, yes.
Modern Family.
I was going to go with Angus.
Yeah, good call. Good call with Manny. Yep.
Yay.
And now we see Doug, or Douglas. He's very specific about being Douglas, but I'm probably going to call him Doug the whole episode. And that's Brad Garrett's character. And he has like these 2 twin daughters. He forgot their lunch boxes, so he's just like, now here's $20, like, go get a burger from the grill, as if they're at like a VFW, like a yacht club.
I love the expression "the grill," and I want to start using that for any time we go to get food somewhere.
So he just gives the money to some other girl and steals her lunch.
And then he went, Raymond.
Raymond.
He calls her sweetheart and tells her to go buy something with rainbows on it, which I feel like is the fucking funniest thing to say to a little kid.
Will it be one of TV's biggest crimes that he wasn't Herman Munster?
Yes.
There's
We
still
can
time.
still do this. Speaking of Modern Family, we need Phil from Modern Family to play Gomez Adams.
Oh, a giant crossover now.
Yeah, make them together.
I mean, does the world really want more Munsters? Is the question.
Every 20 years, they give it to us whether we want it or not. So it's
I
just
know.
going to happen
And
eventually.
I think maybe that's probably why. Maybe they offered it.
I need something to wash Rob Zombie's shitty movie out of my brain.
When done right, I'll welcome anything back. It has to be done right. Just in the conversation that he's having with his daughters, he's a very like kind of stern, like old school, kind of conservative leaning guy. And then when he's talking to his daughters, it's like, hey, what's the family motto? And the daughter's like, no weakness, drain the swamp.
He reminds me of a mafia character.
He's great. He's
He's got a little bit of that in him, especially with the like thinking he could pay everybody off.
Yep.
Also, those 2 little girls are the best kids on the show for sure.
It's it's like a tough, polarizing way to play a character because he's kind of a dick, but he's also endearing, right? Like right off the bat.
I don't think we got enough of Will's daughter to like know where she stands because she was kind of like on the outside most of the time.
Yeah. But it's funny you said he's endearing because he won me over the second he tried to tip the teacher because he goes, he's with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, the teacher walks up to Miggy and he's got like a baby. He's not even supposed to be there.
He's like a toddler. Yeah, he's
the
just
only one
with
who has
them.
a kid that's not
Wait, his
in
name
first
is
grade.
Miggy? I thought it was Mickey.
No,
Miggy.
Miggy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Getting Miggy with it. Na 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 na.
Yeah,
Na 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 na.
sort of. And he's like nodding off. I don't exactly know what the setup was there, why he was like dozing, but
Because he's a single dad.
Yeah, I think he's just overwhelmed.
yeah, that's his backstory. He's 20. He's not ready to be a dad really, but here he is in the situation. And we don't get his backstory much. We get throughout the episode, we only get a little bit about obviously we know Will, and then we get a little bit of Angie, we get some of Doug, and then as far as like Poppy and Miggy, we don't really know much about them yet.
He is an American Housewife, which is maybe that'll be my next pick. That's a show we definitely need to cover.
Also, Jay, do you remember in Entourage when there's like that? It's early in the seasons, and there's that young pop singer who's a virgin, or they say is a virgin, and Vince is trying to get with her.
Oh, okay.
That's Leighton Meester.
You know what Jay knows her from? His favorite movie, That's My Boy. She's the sister.
I think I do know her from that more than when I looked her up. I was like, that's probably where I know her best from. But yeah, that movie is garbage.
That movie's fantastic. You're
I've
crazy.
said this before. I don't know if I've ever said it on the show. I remember years back at work, I'm in the break room. It's a big break room. There's a lot of people sitting down and everyone's watching the movie. And like, there's like a dozen people in hysterics laughing, watching it. And I'm like, am I in Bizarro World? Am I watching something different than everybody
That's
else?
hilarious. Ronnie Burger.
I named my kid Burger and I talk like this.
No, he named his kid Han Solo. His last name is Burger.
I always think of that movie, the bar that Gordo, you did sound at for a long time in Somerville, the Rosebud. It was like they got, when you go to a bar and they have those like flyers and stuff in the bathroom, like above the urinals, and they change them out like every week for whatever advertising company. It's a TV show, it's a whatever.
Yeah.
They just had the That's My Boy there for like 4.5 straight years. Like they hired a company for a week. They came in, they slapped a bunch of "That's My Boy" posters, and then like everybody at that company fucking died. So for 4 years peeing at that restaurant, you're just like, why are they advertising "That's My Boy"?
Because they have good taste.
We're doing great numbers in Somerville.
I mean, it was adjacent to a movie theater.
Was, actually. Fun times.
During all that commotion with the teacher, it kind of brought all the parents together, like everyone that we had just met, except for Will. Because basically what we're learning is like this whole group of parents are like a little bit of a network with one another. But while they're all talking, Will like has a triangle to get the attention of the class and all the parents. And he's telling everyone like, when he's going like, quiet coyotes, quiet coyotes. I was like,
I know that sort of like stuff works for kids, and that's why people do it, like teachers especially, right? Like, and I respect 1,000% if you're a teacher that you can like get the class's attention or whatever. But that was the moment where I was like, it's hard to see a grown man yell "quiet coyotes." That's really hard.
It was so cringy and annoying that it won me over. It was like just that right amount.
It did the opposite for me. It turned me right off.
I would be intrigued to see as we go on, though, Gordo, because I feel like it wins me over later because I think this isn't integral to his story arc. But
I'll say it when it happens. But there was a point in this episode where I like audibly went, "Oh my god!"
I also thought it was very interesting that they had them already all friends. They didn't have them all meet. Like, it's the first day of school. They could have, I mean, they would have known each other from kindergarten and stuff, but they could have easily taken that road and had their origin story.
It's funny you say that. I was thinking about that kind of a good amount, actually, as I'm doing all this. It was one of those, we've talked about this a million times over. Sometimes you get way too much origin. Sometimes it's too far away. I did think that this would have benefited from just a little bit of like narration at the top from like one of the characters, just kind of like just giving you like a quick 30 seconds, like who this group of people is, and then start the episode a little bit. Because I felt like we did go in a little cold, even though they did a good job kind of showing us all of the people involved. Yeah, we don't really know their connection to one another.
See, I like that though. I thought jumping right in, you didn't really need to know the backstory because it's pretty simple. They're all single parents.
Sure.
They all banded together. There's not much else to know.
I just thought it just needed a little something. And I'm on team, we don't need full origin stories on everything. Even though this is kind of Will's origin story. But I'm okay with the point of their lives that we're being introduced to them in. I just thought it needed just a little bit of explanation somewhere. Not a lot, but something.
The thing is, Will is supposed to represent the audience. He's coming into that group, but you can't relate to Will because he's so weird. So it's like that almost doesn't work, but it oddly does.
It's like when the first episode of The Office, in like at that time, Ryan was still kind of normal. So like you're entering the world with Ryan and it makes sense.
Exactly.
So as Will's doing this big presentation and talking about he's going to be the new class parent or whatever, you see all the other parents like watching on and like, they're like, oh no, because they've been through this. They see these types before, like this guy's going to be an overachiever. Is going to want them to do all this stuff. And like, they're just trying to get through life, you know?
What the hell is a class parent?
It's the parent that's like in charge of network with all the other parents, setting
organizing
up stuff, special things.
Is that like a new thing?
Yeah, it's a thing.
I think to our generation that we didn't have that, but I think now with the connectivity of everybody on phones where you can text and you can be like, hey, this is the carpool this week. I think it's much more of a thing now than it was when we were kids.
Also, that might have existed, but none of our parents would have been
I was going to say, I don't think any of our parents just gave a fuck about that stuff.
I was just about to say, if anyone, it would have been Ferg's mom. If anyone out of all of our parents.
Yeah, usually it was, here's $1.25 for lunch. Leave the house and don't get kidnapped either way, back and forth to the school.
I will say my first laugh of the episode was while those parents were all reacting, and you see Doug looking on at Will and going, is he wearing a necklace made of garbage?
He kills like so many one-liners in this episode.
Yeah.
While Will's doing this whole big presentation, everyone, like, he can't help but just abruptly tell everyone how he's single. A bunch of first graders who have no idea what this really even means.
I mean, you shoot your shot at the other single parents,
I guess.
Or the teacher.
Like, he probably doesn't have a lot of opportunity. I'm under the impression he doesn't have a lot of opportunity to talk to anyone outside of his daughter. So he's like, oh, here's my chance to vent.
Again, weird and cringy. Just cringy.
It's supposed to be. He's not supposed to be a character you go, all right.
Gordo, I mean, while he's talking, Doug's saying, somebody tell me when it's safe for my nuts to return to my body. Like, it's like they're very acknowledging that he is super cringy. It's supposed
It's not
to be
James
that way.
Bond walking into the school.
You love the cringiest shit on earth. And also, if anyone hasn't seen, we have our live anniversary episode up on YouTube. Go give that a watch. And you can see how much Gordo does truly love cringe when you look at the guy that he paid to give us a shout out and want to touch our buttholes.
That was all him. That was not Gordo.
I bet.
Nobody believes you.
I want to hack into your phone so bad to find your cameo
Yeah,
message
I don't
to
think
that
you
guy.
want to. I don't think you want to do that.
After that scene, the scene kind of ends with him kind of shooting out a message to all the parents saying how they better sign up for all this volunteer stuff, or he's gonna like come after them like sharks, and he does a little and scare the kids.
Scares the kids.
But then we get into what I guess is an intro. We talk about short intros. This is like short for a short intro. Like if you glance down, you don't see the title of the show short. And I thought that was maybe not the best for this. Like I'm okay with the short ones, but this was like not enough.
I didn't even register one.
I must have glanced down because I didn't remember an intro
Yeah.
to this.
It just says single parents, and then it says created by. One of the creators also, Regis Philbin's daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Kathy Lee Ripper.
No.
Ripper was not her last name. She was not Regis's daughter or wife. What
do you
doing?
actually think that's her name?
You combine people and
Kathy Lee Ripper.
It's like
That wasn't her name?
No, you're thinking of Jack the.
you mixed up Kelly Ripa with
Kathy Lee
Kathy Lee
Gifford.
Gifford.
Kathy Lee Gifford. And neither are his daughter.
They both were co-hosts.
and neither are his daughter.
That's like saying Kathy Lee Strahan. they were on the show at different times.
It's like Gordo. I'm telling you, man, you've got a gas leak or something. It's like you spend your life concussed.
That was the thanks for that. But I told you my bathtub has a rust leak in it, and I'm pretty sure it's leaking lead. And I absorb lead at some point every morning.
Well, we've been telling you for years to stop licking your bathtub, and you won't listen. So
it prevents me from taking hot baths because I'm too afraid that I'm going to absorb lead.
Could take a shower like a self-respecting adult.
Is the rust brown?
Yes.
Then it's not lead.
How do you know?
I do have to ask now, are you consistently a bath person?
Not anymore. He's got a rusty tub.
I was when I had a working bathtub.
I don't think I've taken a bath in my adult life.
I
can't.
love taking baths.
I take
Okay.
a good bath if I'm at a nice hotel. I will do it.
Really?
It's got like a big, nice bathtub. Yeah.
I love sitting and soaking.
Ew, you're just sitting in your own filth.
I take a shower after.
You got to do it before, you dumbass. You take a shower
Yeah, you
before.
idiot. You don't know how to live in luxury. Get a nice candle.
Like Nick with a very fluffy robe on, eating a $17 Toblerone out of the little bathroom.
No, you do it afterwards, and then, you're good to go.
But then Tim Curry breaks into your hotel room to try to see you naked, and you got to scare him out with the clown.
You're cooking, Gordy.
Who's Nick Curry?
He's married to Kelly Ripper, Gordo. Just don't worry about it.
Kathy
Tim
Lee
Curry.
Ripper's sister.
We love you.
Oh, that's the next shirt design right there.
What started this?
Regis Philbin's daughter.
Oh, that's right.
J.J. Philbin,
Yeah.
who also wrote for the OC and Mad TV.
So that's probably where she would know Taryn from.
Yeah, and the other creator also was on the wrote for the OC and also wrote a few sitcoms that we would probably end up covering, I would imagine.
Well, we wouldn't see. I saw it reading up on the show. We don't meet him in this episode, but Angie's husband in real life and in the show is Adam Brody.
Well, there you go.
Oh, okay.
So in the next scene, we see all the parents kind of walking outside of the classroom together, and they're working out their babysitting schedule. So this is, like I said, they kind of have like a network going on. So they all work with one another to because they're all single parents. So not everyone has like that luxury of, your parents or, daycare can be expensive. So they team up, which is seeing where like they clearly all come from different backgrounds. Like this isn't a group of friends who grew up together. So it's kind of nice to see that they just were all like, we have a common need here. And, now we're a team.
Yeah, they all couldn't be more different.
Takes a village.
Said it.
Yeah, I thought we were going to wait and not say it till the very end.
Not supposed to say it at all.
Why?
I mean, like, that's an old expression, right? Like, it's a very common expression that everybody knows, but I never knew of it to be a thing that people were mad if you said.
I think it was just because it was corny and they didn't want him to say it.
Sure, it's definitely corny.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
It was like something that they all bond over. You know what I mean? Like it's probably like an inside thing within their group that they hate that term. So
Its origins are African, the proverb as well.
Because when you're a single parent, everyone fucking says that to you.
Okay, that makes sense.
And while they're all talking, we get a little bit of insight with a couple of them. We find out that Doug's a dermatologist and likes to kind of go out with his fellow dermatologist guys. And Miggy is into sneakers. And, we're getting like little bits of information about everybody. And Angie starts telling them how she found a note in her son Graham's backpack. And it was a love letter for this girl, Zoe, who always wears bunny ears in class. And she's saying that if she breaks Graham's heart, that she's going to chop her feet off and then turn them into keychains.
Oh, lucky rabbit's feet.
And then in the distance while they're talking, they see Will, like, and they cut over and you can kind of see him off trying to get someone to sign up to do volunteer work. And they're trying to figure out how are we going to deal with this guy? And I guess like in the past, Angie found a way to get rid of the last room parent. So this is like a familiar situation to them. They've seen this before.
Yeah.
Like every year, there's going to be another pushy new parent who's going to try to do all this. I will say, though, a little upset about them being so mad about Taco Tuesday.
Well, the way he brought up Taco Tuesday, I like Taco Tuesday, but he made it inherently. Now I don't like it.
Yeah, right.
They're not mad about Taco Tuesday. They're mad about having to help and volunteer. Because
That's the thing, too.
When you're a parent and you work all day and then parent and all that other stuff, the last thing you want to do is extra stuff.
Joe, yeah, you will learn as your daughter grows older. But Taco Tuesday doesn't mean you all show up to the school and there's a bunch of tacos ready. It means that you get an email that on Tuesday you have to show up to her school with 80 pounds of chopped up lettuce, and you're going to be the lettuce guy.
I'd be the lettuce guy.
You say that now until it's time to be the lettuce guy.
No, you say that now until it's time to be the cantaloupe guy.
I'm lucky that the one good thing about having food allergies is at least I'll get out of a lot of that stuff. Be like, oh, could you make the breaded chicken? Be like, oh, not unless you want a gluten-free version. They'll be like, we'll ask Greg. Like, don't worry about it. You don't have to do this anymore. You can bring Pepsi.
That's going to backfire on you. They're going to be like, oh, that'll be more safe for all the kids in case they have food allergies. Yeah, do
Exactly.
that, Joe.
It'll be more inclusive, Joe.
And then they're going to be like, oh, it's fucking Andy's dad. He's the reason we have to make fucking gluten-free food for all these stupid school events now.
Everyone just so mad at me because of the dry bread that crumbles apart whenever they try to eat a sandwich.
Just throw Cheez-Its at Joe to get out of here.
Oh, good. We're making tacos with church wafers.
Like, you're seeing more and more gluten-free stuff. You can see Oreos has 4 different flavors of gluten-free. And do you know what comes out this month for the first time ever? Something I've been craving for a very long time. It is not a cheese cracker yet, but goddamn Chip Ahoys. I can finally have a goddamn Chip Ahoy again.
Chips Ahoy.
Chips.
Chip Ahoy.
Chips.
I assume not chewy then, right? There's no way, because everything gluten-free is like dry and crispy.
No. Yeah, we make cookies all the time. You can do King Arthur is good at everything, and the King
The
Arthur
strip
cookie
club?
mix. That is unfortunately gone. Although I would not eat anything. I wouldn't eat a cookie from King Arthur's.
So anyways, Will's talking to all these parents, and he's trying to get them all involved to do some participation stuff. And as they're talking to him, they can see that like his whole life is just, I'm Sophie's dad. That's it now. Angie says to him like, you're in deep, huh? He's like, in what? The vortex. You know, the place where like, being like your kid's parent is like your entire identity. And you get like the flashback. And I was worried because I don't like too many flashbacks, but this is the only one we got in the episode, so it was fine. And you just see her like singing the Wheels on the Bus as she's getting a package, like, who knows, maybe a year prior. I thought it was funny too. I don't want to sound like I'm anti-flashback, but some shows like when you catch one early, you go, uh-oh, this show's going to be a big flashback show.
No, flashbacks are okay. It's the constant cutaways. It's the Family Guy every 5 minutes. You think that's bad? Like,
I do like that when she answers the door, though, she's singing, she high fives the delivery guy and then just throws the box over her shoulder, doesn't even take it and open it.
When they flash back and like all the parents are kind of on him about being in the vortex, they ask like, when was the last time you stayed up past 10? And he goes, in the nighttime? I don't know. His phrasing I thought was great there.
I love that joke. And I also feel like as we get older, there are certain times where you're like, if you're up and it's like 11, you're like, Jesus, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't have kids and I'm the same way now. I'm like, whoa, hold on. We're staying up how late?
I try to be in bed at 10 if I can.
Well, I have no problem. I'll stay up all night.
You're like consistently a night owl though. Like you're up when I wake up for work.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's because that's when I have to wake up for work. But I mean, if left to my own devices, I will stay up all night. Like the pandemic didn't help that at all, being laid off and working nights just at that club that Joe was saying up till 4 anyways. So naturally, that's what I want to do.
When you work nights, it kind of changes your...
Exactly. Changes your whole pattern. Like it's so hard to, once you're a night owl, you can't really switch.
yeah, I get up at 5 a.m. every day for work, and I still can't break the habit of being in bed even by midnight. Like I'll find myself up past 1, and I'm like, I'm gonna be up in 4 hours.
I'm better about it now, but like I've always notoriously not slept a lot. But nowadays I wake up at 2:45.
Oh, you've slept a lot, just not at appropriate times.
Yeah.
We've got thousands of pictures.
You have fallen asleep while we were recording the episode. Where
Once,
we have heard
out of 160
snoring.
something. Remember, I mean, to peel it back, by the time we're done recording this episode, I will have about 3 hours before I have to wake up and go to work. So I'm tired with reason. But to go back, they also ask Will when the last time he had sex was, and he's also at a point of just being a girl dad that like he's almost embarrassed to even be asked that, even though there's no children around.
It is a weird question from people you've just met.
A stranger asks you when the last time you had sex was, your response would be like,
Yeah, like
fuck
they
you.
haven't known each other 10 minutes.
Hey, this is a classic vortex test. It's standard issue.
Well, that's when you say last night with your mom.
That is no doubt in my mind how you would respond to that question.
100% it is. And then he'd get fucking leveled by Brad Garrett.
Brad Garrett would kick you like a football punter and you'd go flying over a fence.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be Brad Garrett. It could be one of the women.
But we also find out that the answer to that question is he hasn't had sex in about 5 years.
Ouch.
That's a dry spell. That's a tough dry spell.
You might be a virgin again at that point.
I'm going to assume that he hasn't had sex since his wife left.
That's the way it sounds, yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
what
would
it
believe
sounds
so.
like.
Because if their daughter is going into first grade, she's what, like 7-ish? 6, 7?
First grade is...
Yeah, because like, yeah,
Seven.
yeah. So about
Yeah.
6 going into it, starting probably 6. So yeah. And then it's been 5 years. So yeah, baby was born and then they split up soon after, I guess. They're like, okay, we have to fix this. And then we immediately, Poppy just like makes him a Tinder in like 8 seconds flat. And he goes to look at it and he's like, is that my face on Putin's body?
We as a society have gotten so much mileage out of the shirtless Putin on a horse picture. Like that is just, we saw it once in society. We're like, we'll run with this.
I like when they put him on a bear instead of a horse.
This is totally off topic, but I just saw recently the video of Putin playing hockey. Have you guys seen that? And they just let him score goals.
Yes.
Like the goalie's like, oops, I missed it.
Yeah.
Putin can't skate. And he's fucking sending goals into
He
the
moves
net.
okay.
He moves like I would move.
He could skate, but he's not a
I don't
hockey
know, man.
player.
I will say, when I saw that, I saw him and I was like, well, this is a guy who at least has played hockey before and he's better than me. This is not like the better thing to watch is any of the videos where it's Steven Seagal and he's like
Those are
in
amazing.
Russia or somewhere. And he's like, I'm going to show you karate demonstration or whatever he does. And it's just like guys jumping out of the way and he's barely moving now.
The next line really flagged to me because it's him trying to get out of going on a date with someone. And he says, I can't right now. The timing's not great. It's 120 days till Christmas. I think, did
Joe?
everyone here think of the same? Yeah.
Yep.
Joe's Thanksgiving excuse.
No, it was Columbus Day, wasn't it?
I think one time it was Thanksgiving. I forget. We were going to go to Nick's to watch like a pay-per-view.
No, Arbor Day was coming up next week.
Thanksgiving, because I was hosting two sides of a family and I had to get a ton of stuff done.
But it was like a week away, and it was like for a few hours.
No, I think it was longer than a week.
No, it was like a week because I also work full time. I didn't have a ton of time.
It was more than a week because I would have given you the benefit of the doubt for a week.
It was we were planning on hanging out in November, and we were planning on hanging out on Columbus Day weekend in October, and Joe said that he had to retile his grout or whatever. Regrout.
I'd like to say that none of that is accurate at all. Why would I be regrouting tile in the apartment I rented? What was
It's just so funny
I
because
said.
now we've discovered that not only does Gordo have carbon monoxide poisoning, but now he's dealing with lead poisoning too.
Watching Gordo in real time trying to think of an antidote.
I will find the text.
All right.
Please.
These are all logged.
This is
Boys.
Routgate 2024. I really want to see the
I know
text.
for a fact his excuse was Thanksgiving was coming up, but
And
it was
he had to
2 weeks
fix the tile in his bathroom. And I said, why are you fixing tile in your apartment?
I mean, there was a time where I had to glue old tiles down that came up.
Bud. Was it for Thanksgiving?
Did you say bud? He just went bud.
Gordo, you got too many tabs open in your brain right now. You got to close a few. You're starting to lag.
What is that? Bud.
Also, and real quick, the scene ends with him agreeing to go on a date. So he does. He's willing to let them swipe for him. And now in the next scene, we see Angie doing a roll call with all the kids. They're all getting into her van, and Will runs up, and he's the volunteer crossing guard. And I guess tonight's date night. And I was kind of confused. So first you have all the kids like talking to him and like talking about how he's such a disaster and how this isn't going to work, which is fun. Like whatever, the kids all ragging on him. And she kind of gives him the whole like, oh, like, I don't have time right now. Will, we got you this date. Now I have to babysit everyone else's kids in exchange for like a Saturday night, like later down the road. And then he goes, oh, because I was going to say like, you guys could come over and I'll babysit. And she's like, we'll be there in 15. And I went like, wait, hold on. What happened to the date? Like, I felt like I was missing a part of the scene here. Like I couldn't follow where the story was going.
No, the date wasn't that day.
He said it was tonight. He's like, it's date night.
But he was, I think, watching the kids immediately after school, and then the other guy was watching them at night.
Right, but it starts with him saying tonight's date night, and then somehow he ends up babysitting all the kids for a little bit up until the date. Like, I don't know. They were trying to get all of them over to his house to kind of like make these scenes set up, but like that wasn't the way to do it.
But yeah, it was date night because they all end up at the house, and that's when they say, "What are you gonna wear?"
Yeah, it didn't make sense why he would be volunteering to babysit. He's not available.
Because it wasn't nighttime; it was daytime.
But why is he babysitting them?
Right after school, you get every couple hours you can.
Well, it's probably like the like 2 to 5 or 6 or whenever, like the in between school and work getting out, maybe.
And then once he volunteers, it cuts to Miggy, who's outside, like in the shoe line with his I think it's his son. I don't know if they ever said one way or another. Is his son?
Yeah.
All right. So Miggy's his son again is like a baby, like in a stroller at all times. And his friend's like, hey man, you gotta stop like bringing your baby into the sneaker line. And he's like, well, free babysitting doesn't just fall out of the sky. And then he gets the text from Angie saying like, hey, free babysitting. He's like, oh shit.
Did anybody else here go immediately to Dogma? He's like, guys like us just don't fall out of the sky, you know. That's like all I can think of.
Because of that, they all end up at Will's. And you hear like, you know, it cuts over to his house and the doorbell rings and it opens up. It's Will, who's in like a Todd Gurley jersey, which didn't seem, his character didn't like come off as like, I'm a guy's guy. I like football and stuff. Like it didn't, he's been like all unicorns and stuff lately. The Gurley jersey just didn't, it didn't add up to me.
Is that because he's a girly dad?
Unless that was the joke, honestly, unless that's what they were going for. But
Tough, because you have to watch more of the show. He's not a man's man. Like, he likes to eat steaks and stuff. It's just losing his wife and then leaving him with the daughter. It's just forced him into this character where he stays with the person.
In this episode, he's basically like Blippy. You know what I mean? So like to see him all of a sudden like at the door, like in his football jersey, you're like, where's this coming from?
This might be a Taron Killam thing because he's from California, like Southern California, and didn't Gurley play for the Rams?
Yeah, he was a Ram.
Also, like, this is probably from his life before, right?
Yeah, this is the before times.
Yeah.
Like, this is like when he was still married or whatever, and not like, you know,
So
neurotic weirdo.
they're almost like artifacts of his past life at this point.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't get rid of anything.
And also, I feel like a big jersey is comfortable, right? Like, he's not getting like style dressed. He's bidding on like clothes that are comfortable.
I'll say this is knowing for a fact, Joe, that you've probably never worn a football jersey. They're not really the most comfortable, to be honest. It's not like loungewear.
They look comfortable though.
If you buy the non-authentic ones, but like the one he's wearing, like the real ones, they're really thick, and then the numbers like sit firm. Like, so the cheap knockoff meshy ones are usually better, but what he's wearing, not for lounging.
But it's like Nick said, they're just archives from before the wife left. So he has the jersey. It's why he has really old pants. Because you don't see those pants that turn into shorts anymore. I had those in middle school.
Yeah, do they still make those?
They do for hiking. I almost bought a pair.
The reaction to his pants with like the utter disgust was so good.
They are disgusting.
I will say with Gordo though, if you're hiking, if you're getting a pair of like those like REI or whatever, like I get that, right? Michael Scott cut his pants off and then had to reduct tape them back together. He
Fashion
could have
them into
solved
a
that
tent.
problem.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like I get them from I want them. My wife has forbidden me from getting them.
But you won in the end. You got the Crocs.
Exactly.
But she knows that if you get them, you're going to go hiking once and wear them. And then it's going to be you wearing those to walk the dog with the Crocs on. And then it's you wearing those just to go to the grocery store with the dog on. And then it's just going to be Gordo only wears zip-off pants. Like, it would be a slow descent into that's the only pair of pants you wear.
Hey, we do hike. We do hike like once every couple of weeks with the dog.
We do hike.
So
I'm not knocking you for hiking. I like hiking.
I mean, we have hiking shoes, and I don't hike in Crocs, but you know, I would wear those. But again, they're too expensive for what they are, and I don't want to wear them once every like couple of weeks. You know what I mean? You can't have once every couple of week pants. Just weird.
I will say I went to the LL Bean store for the first time ever, right? And that's like all the stuff they sell there, right? Like, it was like how much money you can spend on a tent or a pair of pants for the outdoors.
Oh, it's insane.
Like, it's crazy how expensive that stuff is.
Yeah. We just
Good point.
No, a good store to go to is the Sierra Trading Post, which is the TJ Maxx of hiking.
Ah, no, that's a hot lead.
You know what I remember, because you brought up LL Bean? Remember when we were younger? I didn't have them, but I felt like half of our grade had the LL Bean bags that had your initials on them.
When you go to the store, there's just the guy who spends all day
just putting initials on the bags. They still do them.
Yeah, and you can get anything there in, monogrammed as well. So you could have got like a shirt or a jacket, and they'll just put your fucking initials on it or whatever you want, rad or whatever.
I'll say this, now that I look back, I used to hate those bags, and I just think me just being me and who we were as kids, I think I just hated them because everyone had one. Like, it wasn't like I couldn't have one. I just, because they were popular and everyone had them, was like, fuck those bags.
They were definitely like a status symbol backpack, though.
Yeah, they were.
I didn't have one, but
Yeah, I don't think any of us ever had one.
I think I had a Jan Sport when they weren't cool.
Eastpak back in the day.
Yeah, we just bought the ones that were on sale at like Ames or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
August.
I always just got whatever backpack my mother came home with.
Although I will say I missed the fun of, like, I was thinking the other day I had a great Batman Returns backpack in like second grade. Like, there was the fun of being a kid and getting one that was like whatever thing you were into at the time.
Getting back to this scene, there was also the part where Will had Miggy's kid because he was crying. He like picked him up and he's doing that rock squat pause thing, but he's saying it so weird that like you can't hear that he's saying pause. It sounded like you're saying puss.
Yeah, and they question him and ask him if he's saying puss.
He said it so many times. I'm glad that it was intentional because when he was saying it in the beginning, I was like, what the fuck is he saying? But it worked. So he is he does have a way with kids. The baby stopped crying pretty quick.
I haven't tried that yet, but I'm willing to try that.
You should.
Report back. I want to know if this is a real technique.
Yeah, I will. Usually I like happened to me today. Sometimes it's just like you have to walk with the baby and like sort of like you're like doing lunges almost, you know, like you're like bouncing a baby. I did it for a full hour and it feels like I like threw 50 softballs. It's my arms were on fire. Shit, I was been doing this backwards the whole time.
They said something about shaking the baby. I can't remember if I'm supposed to or not supposed to.
I hold her like a shake weight. Just
When Will's trying to get Miggy to learn the technique, and he's like, "No, man, what if I learn that and then I don't have sex for 5 years and I'm wearing pants with zip-off shorts? like, give me my baby."
the best and the most 20-year-old response. It's a fucking perfect response.
Will's trying to get out of this date now. He's having like a cold feet situation, so now he's trying to get into new excuses as to why he can't do it. Taco Tuesday's around the corner. He doesn't want the guac to start browning.
Oh, real quick, too, I would just like to jump in. While we were talking, Gordo did find the day that I said I couldn't hang out because of
There's
Thanksgiving.
no correlation to what we were talking about.
Well, he's making excuses that people didn't want to believe, like Taco Tuesday or the guacamole.
No, I'm saying what Gordo found wasn't Thanksgiving.
It is. His thing was
Oh.
November 25th. I looked it up. It's 3 days before Thanksgiving, and it was a Monday.
That
So
was prior. Do you want me to find the first thing? But there is reference.
We
to
can
the
talk
title.
about this off air. And if someone has solid proof next episode, we can readdress it.
All right, yeah, we'll check back in next week.
Stay tuned for the thrilling conclusion.
People are going to be at the edge of their seats for this one for 7 years ago, an argument we all had.
In the next scene, we cut to Doug and Poppy, and they're at like some bookstore, cafe, library looking place.
It's called the Winebrary. So that's what threw me off because a woman is just reading a book at a table. So I was like, is this a, because there are wine, like bar / coffee shop bookstores all over the place, right? There's like one in our town. But the idea of one being an actual library seems like a terrible idea with wine as like the most staining of all liquids.
That's how they make their profit. You stay in the book, you buy it.
You stain, you buy.
Also, I didn't mention this earlier, but did you guys notice? Sorry for those of you who don't listen to watch wrestling. Did you guys notice that Poppy is dressed up exactly like the Fiend?
No.
She has like the vertical striped pants and the leather jacket on, and I was like, why is this woman dressed up like the Fiend?
Hey, Poppy's a little wacky like that. You don't complete get that in this episode, but I mean,
You could probably see a little bit in like with Rory and how she's very like be you and do your thing. So, and while they're talking, we get this dialogue where Poppy really wants Doug to go to her son's like dance party that he's planning for tonight, and he's adamantly against doing that. But it's kind of like it's explained that because the kid Rory doesn't really have like a male figure in his life, he kind of looks to Doug as being that, because when you look at the group before Will joined, it's just the 2 guys and 2 girls, and Miggy's like 20. He's not really like, he doesn't give off like those like
and a pizza place.
father vibe. Yeah, we get a lot of Doug refusing to do anything involving singing and dancing, and we'll get into it later, but I do think the show did a good job of like weaving storylines in and like having callbacks and like things that are happening earlier come into play later.
They set up and delivered on almost all their setups. I think that's pretty good writing. One of the like little aside things here I thought was really funny in this scene is when Douglas is talking to her about everything, and he's like, why do all the books have to be about wine or menopause? There's just a background actor reading a book who just looks up and gives him the stink eye, and that made me laugh super hard for some reason, because it was just right. If you'd notice it if you weren't paying attention.
Her response to that is, Douglas, you are why we march. And then we cut to Angie and Miggy, who are in Will's house, and they're like in his room, just the 2 of them, and they're like digging through all his clothes, trying to figure out an outfit that he can wear for the date tonight.
I do like how they get Rory to help him dress, because he does have a sense of style.
Yeah, later on when they show up, that's kind of the tie-in, because we already find out that he's into style and things of that nature. And then here, when Angie's like, we can't just let him like leave dressed the way he was dressed. That would be a crime, like leaving a baby on a doorstep, and just hoping for the best. And you just see like Miggy like kind of like staring at his kid, and she's like, "You can't do that." He's like, "No, I knew that." And
She had to like just FYI, by the way, you can't do that.
I do love though, like the just thinking about it a little face he had.
and that cuts to Will and Angie's son Graham, and they're in the kitchen, and Will's reading the love letter that he wrote for Zoe. It's like, Zoe, I want to hug you and give you all my gum. And he's like, oh, it's a great start.
I wrote a letter like that once, but it wasn't gum.
You spelled gum wrong?
They spelled gum wrong.
A little sweet moment. You
He's like-
ruined it.
He's like Zoe since the first day of kindergarten. Then once you started wearing those bunny ears, that was it. He was done.
There's in this scene too, Will is like gonna cut him off from the juice. He's drinking.
Yeah, he's like acting
he's at
like
a
the
bar.
bartender. Yeah.
There's like 7 juices on, like drained juice boxes on that counter. That kid would be out of his mind on sugar.
Because he does that like thing where when he finishes the box, he gives it like the punch to like crunch it.
Going back to what you said, I feel like he's the kind of dad that would buy sugar-free juice.
That's fair.
I was going to say, how much
Probably.
sugar is in juice?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
I remember years ago, my brother bought like the healthier juice boxes for my niece and trying one, and like they were disgusting. Like he aborted mission on that quick because they were like, he acknowledged that they were terrible. Like he's like, I can't do this.
Like, that's half the fun of having a kid. You get to drink juice again and eat all that stuff that I never stopped doing. But most people,
I was never a big juice drinker for that exact reason. It always was way too sweet.
you get all the fruit snacks again and all that good stuff.
I'll be 38 this month. By the time this episode, no, I won't be yet. But my niece, she'll be 8. So I have, she was born when I was 30. I can safely say I've drank considerably more Capri Suns in my 30s than I did in my 20s.
If there are Capri Suns in the fridge, they're getting drank, but you're not going to buy them on your own, right? So I totally understand it.
I did once because I was like, man, I really like having these Capri Suns all the time when I'm downstairs. And then I bought some for myself. I'm like, this feels wrong. Like, I can't have Capri Suns in the fridge for myself.
They like dropped the ball not giving you like an adult size one.
They did. It was called Boku.
Oh, it's a juice box for adults. R.I.P. Richard Lewis.
Throwback. Is that our Curb episode? Where we talked about Boku?
Daddy Dearest?
Daddy Dearest.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Richard Lewis.
Watch both.
Yeah. Listen to both of our episodes.
That's what I meant.
But Will's being very supportive of Graham and kind of encouraging him to kind of go forward and tell Zoe how he feels. Where when we see his mother talk about it, like she's kind of adamantly against it. She just wants to protect her son. She's afraid that he's going to get hurt.
Do you think I set up here? I feel like she's too protective.
Yes, but it's kind of interesting because when you look at the parents separately and you look at Angie's character and you look at Will's character, Angie seems more likely to be like, shoot your shot. You got to go for it. Like, look at her advice to Will, where Will's more reserved and afraid to go out and do things on his own. But yet, like, when it comes to Graham, it's like a role reverse, and she's more like conservative and wants him to like stay in his nest. And Will's the one saying like, you need to go out and try this and like, don't have any regrets.
It's your kid versus a dude.
All I know is I say go for it and shoot your shot, bud, because I don't know how many memories you guys have of being 7 years old. I have a handful, but none of them are about crushing defeat in love. You know what I mean? I feel like that's going to wash over that kid. That's not going to mess him up.
I don't think that was, they're young, right? In first grade. And I think you like start having your first crushes around then, but I don't remember even being at a point where I entertained the idea of telling a girl I liked her or anything. I don't know if I liked a girl enough, like a one that I knew from school and not just like a crush from television.
First grade?
No, it's not normal in first grade. He's just supposed to be that, like Nick said, he's like Manny. He's a sophisticated, young, advanced kid, like a lover.
So Gordo, you mentioned earlier, this is when Rory walks in and announces that, he's been assigned to give him a makeover. So this is my Everest.
Yeah, it's smart because I like how all the parents know that he has style and he doesn't look bad himself. So if he dresses himself, like, he does have style.
They embrace it.
Would you say he's got Riz?
I would say he does have Riz, actually. Probably also enjoys the skibbity toilet.
Stop. That's not linked. That's not linked.
Also, a number of people die trying to climb Everest. I don't know if this is necessarily a he might die scenario.
But it is probably his greatest challenge, I think.
I think that's what he was alluding to.
While that's happening, we hear like Angie scream from the other room, and then like they rush over to see what's going on, and she just spotted his giant mermaid bag.
I feel like they made this in the prop department for the show, because I went looking everywhere to see if I could find one of these and like what it would cost, and I was not able to. Although now my browser history just has a lot of mermaid
bags,
backpack
mermaid bag large. Yeah.
Classic Joey Deschanel right there. Looking for mermaid bags on the internet. I have a question for you guys who haven't seen the show. Do you get the will they won't they vibe from these two?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
I think inherently when you watch any show, your brain goes there when you see that there's a strong like female and male lead character that you're seeing throughout the episode.
My thing is that, like, I thought when he said he hadn't had sex in 5 years in the beginning, I thought that one of the two women would volunteer.
Pleasure him?
Is that all it takes? Hey.
I don't think that's how it works. Maybe this is a different kind of friend
I'm just going to
group.
start telling people that, yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I got you, baby.
Yeah. That's Angie, right?
I thought that the show would take a more adult turn, and that's how they would, like, do things. But
The show's clearly not super adult in that way.
My thing was, if I feel like you can't do that because it's not single parents anymore. You know what I mean? Like, well, it is because you're not with the person you had the child with. I get that. But like, if you start wedging these people into relationships, I feel like it kind of takes away from the point of the show, doesn't it?
No, because I think that's when, I mean, it sucks because you don't want to go ahead. But like I had mentioned earlier, just knowing that Adam Brody plays Graham's father, right? You know he gets injected somehow into the storylines at some point. So if they link these two characters up, like that's their way around it. You create conflict by having the baby daddy around and all that other stuff. So
Also, 2.5 Men was still 2.5 men once Jake grew up. There was no half a man. It'd become 3 men.
imagine if, like, you know, we talk about other shows. We did 2 Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. We haven't covered it, but 8 Simple Rules. Imagine if they just randomly, like season 5, they were like 3 men.
3 men.
Returns this fall.
3 men. This is not good.
It wasn't good by the time he grew up, anyways. But yeah,
No.
Yeah, he's like a crazy person, right?
that's a story for another day when we cover that one. But
Which we will. I'll pick that eventually.
oh yeah, absolutely.
It's weird. It's almost like growing up with Charlie Sheen around you all the time will make you a fucking crazy person.
When he's trying to pretend he doesn't know anything about this bag, and she's like, "Your wallet's in here, and there's a warm bag of popcorn. Like, you used this bag today." Then he's kind of going on about how like it's tough to find a good snack bag and how it was his wife's before she left. And I like how they kind of cut that with her just going like, I'm sorry, but do you think maybe there's a reason that when she left, she didn't take that bag?"
It's one of the best jokes.
It's a great joke. It also makes him laugh too, right? Like it's like the perfect amount of levity.
I also like, we skipped over it earlier, but like also like while they're at the house in terms of discovering things, the horror movie like reaction when her and Miggy realize that he only owns beanbag chairs and doesn't have any real chairs in the house.
Everything's made of beans.
They all have beans. I fucking lost it.
That made me laugh. Now, are you guys beanbag boys?
Jay's the only person I know of who has ever had a beanbag in his house, and I think it might have been there when they moved in.
I had one at my old apartment, but no, that was the roommates. Like he
Okay.
owned it. Yeah, it wasn't mine.
That gross ass beanbag.
I had them as a kid, actually.
Yeah,
if I look back, when I was real young, we had a couple in the room that like we used to be our playroom.
I used to have like the pleather like blue and red ones.
I always wanted one. I never had one.
It's so weird because Ferg should be the one who had them and he didn't.
Or currently still does.
Could have sworn you had something like that.
I had the video game chair that was like a banana that like rocked. If that's what you're thinking of. But no, I never had a beanbag.
But where does he sit? Because like as a kid, beanbags are fun because you're also really close to the ground. Like a 6 foot tall man trying to get up out of a beanbag is...
Yeah, not to just play the like we're old guys thing now, but and I do hate, like, I notice me talk like Well, I'm old now. Like I bring it up a lot outside of here, like in my life. But just getting up is challenging the older you get, and the idea of like getting up from the floor all the time sounds terrible.
Well, they make like I also hate how like they play off of our generation that like we're adult children, but like they have like adult beanbag chairs and stuff now, and I'm like curious to try it, but also I don't want to spend a ridiculous amount of money on it. So if you're listening, please sponsor us.
I don't have any particular issues with being in a beanbag chair, but the idea of having to like roll out of it or that I would need a rail to get up, like that's not appealing.
Also, the inherent fear that you'll somehow cut it open when you're not paying attention, and then 10,000 little things go flying out, and you're gonna find them for 10 years.
You know what that is, Joe? Though that is still the part of you that's forever cautious because you spent a decade wearing bullets around your waist.
Yeah, if
That's
you
true.
wore like normal shorts like a person.
Yeah, ones that turn into pants eventually.
I'm not wearing bullets now. I mean, I sit down all the time. This we're talking about in high school. My couch is just destroyed. No, I destroy couches now with faulty slush. I don't destroy them with ammunition any longer.
How is it the slush's fault?
The cup. Okay, it's the faulty slush cup.
User error.
No,
The faulty slush.
the wax seal of the cup was bad. I
This
didn't
is a really
squeeze
old.
it.
Yeah, if you guys have been listening to us for a very long time, Joe once told a story about how he got a new couch and got slush all over it like immediately. But your hand would get like sticky or wet, like something would like your skin should feel that first, and then that should shoot a signal to your brain like watch out.
I was holding it like you hold a can, and I was sitting on the couch cross-legged, like a child eating my slush, like you're supposed to. And it went right into the middle of me. I didn't realize until it was too late. Should have got lemon that day.
Why are my balls cold?
Air conditioner's on, babe.
This scene is also kind of the one serious spot we have where Angie and Will are kind of bonding a little bit, and she's like asking about like his ex and kind of just if he misses her, and this is the first time he's not being like overbearing, I felt in the episode, where he's just being
It's the first time he's being an adult.
Yeah, he's just a normal
Yeah.
person.
and he's just kind of saying like not like her, but like I miss having someone, and you know, just kind of the things that go with being in a relationship. And like I felt that was like a super relatable thing.
I think that's so understandable. And I think that also is maybe like a good lesson for some people who get too hung up on relationships for the person, not the thing. Especially like really toxic relationships where like you miss the idea of it more than that person.
That, I mean, I'm like the only single guy out of us, but you guys have all been single before. And I think that it's one of those things I've realized as I've gotten older and you look at the past and, you know, if you ever like hung up on an ex or something like that, you realize with time, first that you broke up for a reason, but also like, it's not the person you miss specifically. It's the way you felt having someone in like those things, like kind of like what he said, like that's what you really
Just
miss.
sharing, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
But I did like the scene. I think if you didn't have any will they, won't they, I think them kind of bonding and having that moment would raise an eyebrow right around this part of the episode.
See, I didn't get the vibe of the will they, won't they, because I don't think that they revealed it too much. I think she was just being friendly right now.
Well, she is being friendly, but
yeah, she's not flirting or anything.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Usually, like in a will they, won't they, there's like an element of flirt to it, or an element of riz, if you will.
that's not even what Riz means. You're using
But
it wrong.
you
You're the one
riz
who uses
people. That is also a term. I'll have to school you on riz later, but you can riz somebody.
You're giving me a headache in my eye right now. Please stop saying this stupid fucking word.
But what I'm saying, though, is that there was no real... Usually you need to have some element of flirty or some kind of
Not
tension.
necessarily. They just have to have a connection, and they show a connection, and you see that there's chemistry between the two. Will they, won't they comes from chemistry, not from straight up, hey, how you doing? Like,
You know,
flirting,
you know what's
like-
funny is while they're having this conversation also is that just a really weird coincidence. He's talking about his daughter and things that like he wishes that his ex was around for. And the name that she wanted to go by, I think, was Joe's MySpace name. Jelly Bean Teen Machine.
You're right.
My current MySpace name is where I go to try to talk to people.
She actually replies by saying that one time she made a boyfriend out of a pile of laundry and then rolled around in it.
Which is the picture I have of my Jelly Bean Teen Machine MySpace photo.
So, yeah, I thought that when she said the laundry, I thought she was going to sit on the laundry.
Remember that conversation we had? If you don't have anything to say, just don't talk.
Where do you go? What are you trying? What?
I get why he said it, actually.
She says
I meant washing machine. Sorry.
Oh my fucking God.
That makes it worse, yeah.
Oh man, Nick tried to defend you.
Yeah.
She does say she rolled around in the laundry. Like I said earlier, I think there was something like inherently sexual that kind of like when she said that, I was like,
I didn't get that.
It was a little sexual because she said she rolled around with it, but it fell apart. It would have never worked. I think that's what the line. So I don't think she was trying to like bang the laundry, but I think she was just trying to, have a romp around.
oh, she just wanted to have a one night stand. She wasn't looking for a full on relationship with her laundry. She just kind of hit it and quit it. So yeah, after they kind of spend their time bonding, we cut over to Doug and Poppy, who are both pulling up outside of Will's house, and you get the, hey, did Angie text you her plan? And apparently the plan was, if we help him out now, we'll bond with him, and then he's not going to make us volunteer for stuff.
I didn't like this. It seemed like oh shit, we forgot we need to drive a wedge between these people. What do we do? And this was their like knee-jerk, less thought involved reaction or like solution to it. It just first I don't love the concept of this show just because it seems lazy. And then that happened and I'm like, this is also lazy. Like I hope you can't expect more of this.
I don't
like
think
just like
this show's lazy. I found it very relatable.
that doesn't mean it's not lazy though.
It's pretty good writing.
Well, I would say out of the five of us, there's a reason why like you would find the single parent premise being like the most relatable. But
I don't know. I just felt like because the show does have I don't know, like it has chops, right? Like it didn't seem, but then those two things specifically really stood out to me as just like not very creative, and I didn't like it.
My theory is the reason they told him that was because they knew he wouldn't help because he's selfish. So to think he's getting something out of it is why they tell him.
I didn't think that. I think that's what the plan really was, because before it was, Angie, you know how to get rid of these guys. So like, I think that there is a bit of her infiltrating and whatever. But as far as like Nick, what you're saying, I did feel like my major hang up with the show, and this kind of goes back to even like when I was talking about earlier, how I felt like I just got thrown in. I felt like a lot of the pieces are there, but they had pacing issues at times that like didn't quite, I don't know, like it wasn't like fully fleshed out. Like there wasn't enough, like the speed wasn't consistent. We're going too fast here and too slow here. And like,
I'll tell you my major issue with this show, and we're going to get to it later, so I won't go into detail, but it's his turnaround at the end scene, like his big moment with him. There was nothing to make his heart turn around. That he has this big change.
His Grinch moment.
We'd actually talked about this before we started recording. Me and Joe, I believe, are the only two people who have seen the show The Unicorn, which we should cover. It's similar synopsis, but it just felt like thinking about that show, this really lacked like depth and I know it's an ABC sitcom. Like I really shouldn't be expecting like that much out of it, but that's kind of what we do here, right? So you just get a little overcritical, and I don't know. I don't know, like a an idea out of a hat type of synopsis for a show, and they just like didn't adjust at all. I don't know, it did bug me.
so one thing was, I said I thought they were in front of Will's house because that's how it paced, but they walk by Doug's car and his two daughters are working on it. So I was a little confused with what was happening there.
He's babysitting. Remember he volunteered to babysit?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the kids are there working on his car, but like that's their character that gets fleshed out much further.
Will volunteered to babysit.
Yeah, they're doing Will's car. As they say, hasn't Will ever heard of vacuuming?
Oh, I thought that was Doug's car at the time.
No,
I didn't
it's
realize
Will's
they were
car.
working on. Okay, that makes more sense now. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
And I like that too because that's a little bit of their personality.
You can tell when they talk, even though like they correct their dad at times, you can see they're heavily influenced by being raised by just him, because he has such a strong personality and like strong opinions. So you can see how like that like leaks into the daughter's personalities a little bit.
They really thrive in other episodes. You get their personality a lot more. When they have more time to flesh out the other characters. Because it's a fairly big cast if you count the kids.
And I think it's nice because you have these two twin girls who are obviously real life twins. So you have that natural chemistry with one another that they're going to be able to bounce off of each other. So like when they're doing things back and forth, they like time and pace things very similar. So it like they have a nice like duo situation.
Yeah.
It's nice too seeing twins on a TV show like this as kids who get to both be on it versus like most shows we watched growing up that had a kid on it. There were twins, but they both played the same character so they could get around laws about how long you can make a kid work.
Is that
like,
not a law anymore? Like,
it's still a law. I think that's why you see the kids are
under a certain age. Yeah, you can only be like under the lights for so long.
Interesting. What other show though had twins
Full House.
other
Full
than Full
House?
House?
We covered a few.
Yeah, we've covered a bunch.
Wasn't Baby Talk or whatever it's called? Wasn't that twins?
I think you'd be surprised how many shows had twins.
Well,
and
the
you
thing
didn't
is, a lot of
realize it.
shows it is twins, but you're seeing them play a character. So you're not seeing a lot of twins together on the show because they're usually meant to divide the work up. That's the whole purpose of having the
There's
twins.
the Sprouse twins, Tia and Tamara.
I'm kind of surprised we haven't done sister yet, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just thought of this. How come Michelle was twins, but Nikki and Alex got to both be on? A little sexist if you ask me.
Probably whatever age, because she was like a baby, but I don't know how that worked.
They were babies.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe because they were a bigger star.
It's just however the rules work at the time, but you're obviously, they probably had to film and work around it, but.
Nikki and Alex were weird when they showed up in Fuller House because they're just adults now, but we never saw them older.
Yeah, and they just don't act anymore. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like they just didn't look like, you watch a lot of these kids grow up to a degree, so you see them as an adult and you're like, oh, that looks like an adult version of that child. But
Listen, they're very upset their mother went to jail, okay?
oh, poor Lori.
Anyways, we're at a point now where Will's outside with Rory, and Rory's kind of presenting Will's look to his mother and Doug, kind of testing out the idea of him putting a vest on and whether or not that's going to work with them. And in that conversation, you get, like I said earlier, there's this whole thing with his dance party he's throwing tonight, and he really wants Doug to be at it. And he's like, no, absolutely no, I don't dance, I don't sing, like none of that. And you can see like Rory's upset by it because he does look up to Doug and was hoping he would attend. I still don't know all the details of this dance party and where it's supposed to be, but
What's strange is the daughters say, we've been trying to get him to sing for years. He won't sing. He doesn't do that. Like, how does this kid win him over, but his own kids can't? Spoiler alert.
Well, he wouldn't go into a foxhole with Rory, though.
he's being told like by Poppy, like, what are you like afraid to like risk embarrassing yourself? Like you can get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And he's like, I'm not interested in leaving my comfort zone. And I haven't been since my wife died. So now we're getting a little bit of his backstory. And we learn like, I think he's telling Will when he's trying to give him a hug that his wife was a 26-year-old exotic dancer and said she looked great in pants, which I thought was the weirdest thing to say.
It was a
about-
strange line.
It was strange.
For your exotic dancer, like where the thought is her wearing as little as possible, but then the thing that turned you on is when she had pants on. It was just
But I think
interesting.
Will then says like life's full of surprises. So I think he was saying like it was like a odd contradiction. He thought she looked so great in pants, even though he liked her being naked.
And basically he got her pregnant and he's like, yeah, whatever. He like was planning to be a very uninvolved father.
Hands off, Dad.
Yeah. And then she died unexpectedly and he was left with the two girls. He doesn't want any more surprises in life.
You know what's crazy about his acting? It's like, you'd think you'd see him and not be able to see anything but Ray's brother. And it's like, I didn't see that once. Like, I saw a new character and I was like, all right.
You know what I think part of that is too? Especially here, because when he's in Everybody Loves Raymond, he does such a different voice. Like his character has a very different voice and delivery.
Yeah.
And because he just is more lively and speaks different, you're not getting this. Like if that was his voice just all the time, you wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to like disconnect. But
Yeah.
I think we brought it up when we did Everybody Loves Raymond, but has anybody ever seen Till Death? which was his sitcom sort of in between Raymond and this. I've never seen it.
No.
No.
My next question was going to be what was his sitcom before that? So you answered that at least, but no, I've never seen it.
He has the other one too, which we might do in October now. The one about the obituary writer.
Oh yeah, we're definitely doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Forget the name of it, but we'll probably be covering in a few months. So listen out.
Like Not Dead Yet or something like that.
Ghost Rider?
No, Ghost Rider's a very different show.
Can we cover Ghost Rider?
Only if we could do their Halloween episode with the ooze guy.
Man, that would be one of those. Nick, you talked about something earlier you wouldn't want to watch that would, or somebody mentioned something they wouldn't watch now because it would ruin it for them. I can't imagine watching Ghost Rider in 2024 and not being
I didn't
"This
like
is
it as
so
a kid,
bad."
so it couldn't be ruined any more than it already is.
We get a little bit of the conflict here when Will's just trying to be a friend to Doug, and Doug's just kind of, maybe because he was a little vulnerable here and told his story, now he's a little bit more sensitive. It kind of spills like, I don't need any more friends. The only reason why we're here is so we can get out of volunteering. And like he's saying that right as Angie's walking out, and Will's like, wait, is that true? And he's like, I told you about Jelly Bean Teen Machine. Angie feels bad now because I think they did just connect, so now it's not just like a mission to get out of work. I think she does, on a friendly level, care about this guy, or at least, sympathize for him, knowing his story now.
I think they've connected enough now that she genuinely feels bad about this.
And he in an outburst goes, and I didn't even throw out the unicorn bag. I've been hiding it under petticoat of Barbie B. Anthony. And it's just this giant size.
It's like a 3 foot tall Susan B. Anthony Barbie.
And then you got Doug going, a man with a mermaid bag. I blame Obama.
No one else thinks that's funny.
I mean, every line he says in this is amazing. It's his delivery, but the writing for him is really strong on this.
Jay doing the voice gets me. That's why I laugh again.
Angie does feel bad that she hurt him in this moment. Now she's like, wait, no, I'm sorry. Like, I'll hand out tacos. Like, I'll do this stuff. And he's like, no. He's like, and he's done with the situation now. He's very hurt and he doesn't trust these people anymore.
That's here too. He says, I thought I found friends. And that's like, that hurts. He says that and you're like, oh, fuck.
You could tell like in that, like when we first meet him early in the episode, even though he's like insufferable, like he has nobody, and I had said like he's using this opportunity around other adults to like spill his guts and tell all this stuff because he has no one to talk to usually other than his daughter.
This is his Ralph Wiggum moment. You can see his heartbreak. And it's like, oh man.
Look in the tunk.
And then we cut to like later in the night. And that's when Angie's home with Graham, and Graham's kind of going over that note and just goes, all right, sent it. And she's like, you did what? You sent the note? And it was that whole idea of like, yeah, like Will told me like you have to, just go for it sometimes. And so we got that like again with the will they won't they. Like we're seeing him bond with the kid and all this stuff. So I do think they're throwing a lot of that stuff out for you to kind of put the pieces together. It goes like immediately to Will and his date, and they're walking into the date's apartment. Was it an apartment or was it a motel? Because it gave motel vibes, but I think it was her apartment.
I think just a lot of California apartment buildings have those walkways. Like apartment buildings in warmer climates have those walkways that make you feel like you're in a motel.
They walk in and he's like, that was a really fun dinner. I loved when you looked up from your phone, but it's good that you got to FaceTime your sister. You guys worked through a lot of issues.
This is so confusing to me because that tracks, right? Where like people don't get off their phones now. I can't even imagine what a nightmare dating could be with that sort of thing. But then she just is like, okay, let's fuck now. Like, wait, what? Is that dating now? Is that how dating works?
Yeah.
It's a Tinder date.
Yeah. That's what Tinder dates are.
Oh, wait, Tinder. Right. That's what was throwing me off. Tinder's the just
not
for
that
sex.
like, in fairness, not that Tinder is exclusively an app to hook up. It's not that by proxy. But, well, dating apps in general. But like, I do think there are a lot of people that are of the mindset like this isn't going to be much, or even if they are open to it being something, like they're just lonely and looking for someone to hang out with that night.
Okay, that like totally, I forgot that it was Tinder and not just like
it wasn't like a blind date setup thing. Yeah.
like, or just like, Bumble or like one of the ones that like aren't sort of specifically for that.
All of them except for the only one that's like strictly for hooking up, I think is the one that the gay dude one, the Grinder. Because guys are terrible, right? But if it's just like guys and guys, then whatever, they're on the same level. if there was like a hookup app for guys and girls, there might be one that I'm just not aware of, like that's like more underground, but Grindr's more known. Like think of a girl signed on to the hookup app and you just get bombarded with, your phone would smoke with 8,000 dudes trying to hit you up at once. Like it's just like there's no balance there. It can't work.
It would be
Dudes
Dick
are-
Pic Central.
Clearly, this guy's never heard of farmersonly.com.
What's our time? Is that the old one? It's like, look, we don't have a lot of time left. Here's my gray balls. Let's do this thing.
Oh, it's so sad.
Don't tell me your balls turn gray.
The hair does.
The hair does, not the nuts themselves.
Gordon looks like the Silver Surfer down there.
So, as mentioned, despite the date clearly not going well and them not really connecting at all, it does turn into her just being like, all right, so we're going to make out now. And he's like, yep. And then they start making out, and he obviously has not touched a woman in 5 years. So he's really excited. I thought this was just going to turn into a premature ejaculation.
Right. I thought he was going to like shoot her into the ceiling was going to be like the joke.
Scary movie when he shoots her against the wall with the cup.
Because he was like, oh, the touch of a woman. Like he was excited, but what actually ends it is like she's on top of him and he can't help himself and he drops the I love you on her. And she's like, what?
That physically hurt me. I was like, what are you doing?
You just go like, oh no.
Idiot.
And that cuts to the immediate of him standing outside and having the door slammed in his face.
Now, he was holding something in his hand, and I thought it was his pants.
But he never took his pants off.
No, he did, because she said pants off now.
But they didn't come all the way off. He had his shoes on and he just went down to the ankles with them.
Yeah, I think they were around the ankles.
Which is also an odd choice. Not a lot of movement there.
What I would like to do is go back, and I should have done it before we recorded, and see if he puts his keys down at any point.
Oh, I watched it twice too and I didn't notice.
Well, maybe just the act of him ripping down his pants caused the keys to fall out.
Yeah, that's true too.
Maybe.
But yeah, he realizes he doesn't have his keys and now he's just trying to knock on the door. And I thought I get why they're doing it. Needs to be this for the next thing to happen. But like her being fearful of him and like he's just like, hey, I need my keys. Like I get he came on too strong with the I love you and being
he
like, you
doesn't
need
say,
to leave.
hey, I need my keys. He just starts over the door and starts saying weird shit.
But he did mention the keys, didn't he? I thought he could have.
At the end. This is after he's already scared the shit out of her.
'Twas a bit too late, yeah.
And also he's like, I don't love you. I don't even like you, which is pretty funny.
Banging on the window.
And then the phone rings and it's Angie and she's like, did you tell Graham to put himself out there? He's going to get hurt. And he goes, wait, why are you answering? Aren't you supposed to be on a date? Like I thought that was a little too forced. Like,
Yeah.
She planned on leaving an angry voicemail.
But it's also nowadays you just text. That wouldn't be a phone call.
the way she realized it that early on, though, just felt like there needed to be something else for it to click in her head. But like she was already ready to be like, hey, aren't you on a date? Why'd you pick up the phone?
Yeah, that felt a little too by the numbers. Like, we have to get to this scene and this bridge has to be crossed real quick. So let's just throw it out there.
For to go with what you said of the voicemail, if that conversation just even started with the first thing out of her mouth was, you weren't supposed to pick up, that would have, like, that could have helped that.
If she said, why'd you pick up? I want to leave you an angry voicemail, would have been better than what they wrote here, yeah.
I mean, they could still go with this if she heard the girl in the apartment be like, get out of here, you psycho, or something along those lines. Then she could be like, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be on a date? What's happening?
And he's explaining to her like what went wrong and how he kind of like let his like gush out and was, you know.
That joke right there says to me that they originally wrote this as a premature ejaculation joke.
They said mush, not gush.
Oh, mush. Yeah.
Mush, yeah.
But they do reference it earlier in the episode too. I still think it should not. I know we joke about this stuff all the time. I think that was the more logical thing to do with it, was the premature joke. I think works there, but he's talking about like, oh, maybe it's for the best or whatever. And like, you know, I actually like being single. And as he's going on, she's like, are those sirens? And you hear sirens in the background. He's like, yeah, but they're not for me. And then the cops like walk up and go, sir, don't move. He goes, oh, they are for me.
I did like that, yeah.
That's funny, but it felt not realistic to me. If you heard sirens in the background. Someone was like, you hear sirens? But like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Like, I feel like saying, yeah, but they're not for me is a weird response.
Yeah, for sure. And then Angie's like quick to respond, right? Because the next scene, you just see her like pulling up to the sneaker line to like get Miggy, like, hey, we have an emergency. Like, we got to get the troops together.
In this episode, I don't know much about sneaker collecting culture. I know that sneakers, though, are very expensive. You don't know what Miggy does for work, and all of a sudden he's 20. He's got a newborn baby, and he's still waiting in line to buy.
You don't understand. That's so accurate with these fucking sneakerheads.
I would say that's the demographic for sneaker collectors. Or just people who you can't justify where they get the money for these shoes. And that's all they do is buy shoes. Also, people in the shoe game there's like a lot of resellers too, so that's kind of maybe part of their income too.
If he gets the shoes retail price from the store, you usually can flip it for a good profit immediately after.
We just had SneakerCon at my work, and a guy lost 55 grand in somewhere on the show floor, just carrying in his pocket. Young kids.
Wow.
What an idiot.
Yeah, that too.
I would hope that all the money I had left was enough to fucking buy a bullet and rent a gun at that point. So I lost 55 grand. It's over.
I like how you're doing the frugal rent the gun. You're not
Vegas vacation
after today.
Buy a bullet and rent a gun.
We cut to Doug, who's at the restaurant with all his dermatology buddies. And like they're laughing and joking, and right as he gets like this big steak on the table, Poppy walks in and gives him the Will's in trouble, we gotta go. And he's like, wait, what? And she's like, I'm the only babysitter you have, and I'm not afraid to go on strike.
He looks at the steak so longingly. Just like so feel bad for him.
It was such a good looking steak.
My next scene would have been them showing up and him having the steak in his hand and eating it like a Neanderthal.
Yeah, that would have been good actually.
With like a bib on.
Yeah.
But like this whole idea of it's good, right? We're seeing everyone band together for him. I do think that this situation is weird. Like this isn't like a logical thing here. Like they know they need a scene where they all like put everything they're doing aside for Will, and then Will can see that effort from them. But this doesn't make sense. Also, like, hey, the cops stopped me because I was knocking on a door. What are we all going to run over and do? Just like, we'll just all be good character witnesses. like that's not, it doesn't make sense.
Well, that's why they went to get him, the guy who can pay off the cops.
It feels like Douglas has paid off cops a few times. You know what I mean? His character has definitely like paid his way out of police trouble before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you see Will talking to the cops and he's like basically chewing their ear off now about his ex and like all this stuff and how he feels about her now. And that's when Angie and like Miggy show up first with the kids. And he's like, dude, she's not coming back. Like we all got left. And like, this is like the whole thing. Like we're all single parents. Like your situation is like, it sucks, but it's not unique. Like this has happened to all of us.
Right.
Doug and Poppy show up like a moment later and, they're all just trying to get him out of whatever trouble he's in. It's like, look, he's not dangerous. Like, look, he's wearing Keds.
I take offense to that. Keds were the Ramones shoes, and Keds are cool.
Okay.
And you have Doug trying to bribe the cops, like we were talking about earlier. Like, hey guys, go buy. Like, I know what you guys make. Which, like, that's not going to help you when you drop that line. Like, you might have been good until you are now demeaning them by saying, like, hey, I know I have more money than you. But I still think, like, when you look at this whole scene, it just doesn't. I don't get why we're in this situation. It just doesn't. The cops are gonna take him to jail for knocking on the window? He didn't actually do anything.
Oh, because now they think he's a sexual predator trying to get in.
Realistically, the cops think
him.
there's a sexual predator there. They're all going to show up, and he's going to be getting night-sticked on the ground. They're not going to be telling him a story about how his wife moved to a different country.
Yeah, that's not going to help your situation if you think you're a sexual predator.
You know what does work out? His phone rings here, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he takes the call. It's his daughter, Sophie. This, again, was kind of smart when they were at his house earlier, and he found out that they were just kind of like using him to get out of Taco Tuesday. He's like, you know what? Even though they were going to watch her originally, he's like, I'm taking you to your grandmother's. So it was a way to get the daughter away from the rest of them. So it was smart to do this.
Good writing.
Again, though, I don't think the cops would have let him pick up his phone.
No.
Not in my experiences.
Yes,
But
it's Jay. Previously.
Well, at this point, the cops are dumbfounded because they have this giant group come. One guy's trying to pay them off, the others.
like, wow, everyone really likes this pervert, huh?
There's some weird sex cult.
But then, the phone rings. It's Sophie, and she's going like, Dad, I know I said I didn't need the song anymore, but... And he goes, of course. And he just starts singing Moana. Ferg, you want to give us a little bit?
No. But this part, I cried my eyes out today.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. It really moved me because she really hurt him when she didn't want to hear the song later. And she called him to show she still needs him. It really meant the world to him.
You can hear it in your voice right now that, like, as you're thinking about it again.
Yeah, the emotion is creeping up in you. Ferg, it's okay. I'm not judging you, Ferg.
I audibly cringed at this. This was this was so bad.
What if the doodle called you Gordo and was like, sing me? Would that not make you wouldn't do it? There's rust on my paws. Sing song.
It's so weird just trying to compute what Gordo finds to be cringe versus what the rest of the world finds to be cringe, which is the things that Gordo likes.
I never liked when stupid, embarrassing stuff like this happens. Like, this is just embarrassing.
But this is him singing to his daughter who can't go to sleep unless she hears a song. Like, that's not cringy. That's like normal.
Yeah, that's not cringy to anybody. That's just being a parent.
In a private location, that's not cringy. In a public setting, when you're about to get arrested, yes, it is.
But one thing we do know, what we know about Will is his daughter is his entire world, period. Like, that's it. As a man in the vortex, all he is his daughter's father.
And you think his character would do that and risk getting arrested because his daughter's more important. But again, wouldn't matter because he'd be beaten on the ground with no phone.
So he starts doing the Moana song, and then out of nowhere, Doug just starts singing. And Ferg, you do mention this before. It's funny. I love that he joined in, but there was what was the buildup?
Something has to have been cut.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't sing and dance. I don't sing and dance. I don't sing and dance. And then what was that moment? They should have just had him.
You're right.
Even
There
it was
not one.
Look over and see something. Something needs to flag to him. It doesn't even have to be major or a verbal thing.
He looks at the daughters like they had a moment. They never had a moment earlier. And then he just goes to it.
Is he just reminiscing on, is he just connecting by them both being single dads of daughters? I don't know. I shouldn't have to think this hard about it, though.
There could have been something, but they don't. It just, I think that they want you to be so into the gag of Brad Garrett singing Moana that you don't
That it overrides
think about
everything.
It.
But I just think there was a scene with him and the other mom. What's her name? The one who said Poppy, who said she wouldn't babysit. Where there was just more with her and the son saying she wanted him to be there for him because, like I said, this came out of nowhere and the episode was going long, and I think that hit the cutting room floor.
I mean, that's a problem, right? We talk about doing these shows. 22 minutes is ideal for us to cover them because a longer show takes so much longer to do, what have you. But I feel like you're restricted if this show was on a streamer. They may have made the episode 24 minutes and put another scene in. You know what I mean?
But sometimes it doesn't need to be a whole other scene. Even if when Poppy went to get him at the restaurant, right? When he showed resistance, instead of saying hey, I'm your only babysitter, she could have been hey, did you know since you always forget, Will's been packing your daughter lunches so they have something to eat with, the rest of the class. It could have just been something like that, something that would have been on brand for his character to do.
Yeah.
And that's all it had to be. Change that one line and now it makes
At the
sense.
very least, have him feel bad that he outed him earlier with his comment, whoa, we're only doing this to get out of work.
Yeah.
Show that it bothered him that he said that, or them all being mad at him for saying that.
That all being said, though, it was very funny to see the two of them sing. So, I did like the scene.
The payoff works as far as the scene.
I hated it. Hated every bit of it.
Why do you hate Moana?
Have you seen Moana?
No, I
That's
have
why
not.
you hated it. That's why you hated the scene.
No, I hated
Beautiful
the
movie.
scene because it didn't make sense.
I wouldn't sing the part because I don't think I could do it justice. That's how much I love Moana.
But you've sang so many Disney songs poorly.
Yeah, it shows you.
I've never seen Moana.
Me either, actually.
You got to see it before Moana 2 comes out.
No, I don't.
All right, fine. Watch Moana 2 first like a weirdo then.
Moana 2 didn't make any sense at all.
So the song ends, and that's like the daughter's like, we knew he could sing and like all this stuff. It was fine. I mean, like I said, it's all about that moment and like how everything kind of before and after it worked doesn't quite add up, but everyone's kind of happy. I don't know how this somehow gets them out of legal trouble, but it seems like the cops are no longer really involved now.
I'd walk away too if I was those cops.
They just walk away like,
Yeah, at least I got $20.
Where does this take place? Did I say? I forget if
I think I just assumed California because of the Rams jersey made me think it must be California, to be honest.
Because I'm wondering, like, are these LAPD cops, like, they've got bigger fish to fry than this guy who's singing with his friends.
Also, this is 2018. The cops show up. Every person at a apartment building is going to be outside in the balcony with their phones out recording it.
Yes.
One of the cops, I think, is the one who said, like, what's happening? Who are these people? And that's when he drops they're my village, which was, like, again, because they've wanted him to not say this the entire episode, and he finds a way to say it.
Yeah.
And they are all like, you ruined it. The next scene where they're all back at school again on another day, and we're just kind of seeing, like, the evolution of everything now, right? Like, we're no longer having Graham need his mother's scarf, and everyone's kind of just more coherent. And now
everybody's grown.
Yeah, like all these little issues from not long ago, like I don't know, they've all kind of stepped up and grown, like you said.
And the bunny girl likes him.
Yes, well, that's from a distance. All of a sudden, she sees her son like approaching Zoe. I think Zoe walked up to him because the email was sent.
Up to him, yeah.
Like they're all watching on, and she goes, "I got your email. It shook me to my core."
I know we sometimes don't like when kids are being adults, but this line really made me laugh.
I thought it was funny. And then he just takes the gum out of his mouth and hands it to her, and she starts chewing it. They're going steady. You know,
that's so fucking gross.
Kids are
Gordo,
gross.
you just want to hate the episode at this point, though. That's where you're at.
No, I just don't like that. That's just like, ugh. No.
If your wife gave you wouldn't eat gum.
No, hold on. I did forget. Gordo has a really weird aversion to spit.
That's true.
Yep,
Oh.
I do not like it. Nope. Gum, gross.
Go back to our older episodes to learn about how much Gordo hates spit. And because I don't know which episode, you better listen to all of them.
Yeah, you're gonna have to run a transcriber on everything. She's Angie's like, that Easter freak likes my kid. And you get the, I told you mush works. And then we cut outside for the final scene. It's basically time to get rid of the mermaid bag, right? Because he's growing too, right? So he has to let go of this thing that he's only really holding on to because it was his ex's. And he keeps doing I don't know what it was. Like, was the gag that he couldn't fully commit or that he throws bad?
He throws bad. He was trying to throw it. There's barrels to the left, and he keeps throwing it into like the playground.
I was also confused. Like, what was the gag? Like,
I thought it was at first that he just kept
weird.
doing it and then like being afraid to commit, and he goes to get the bag again.
That's what I thought. Yes,
But then as it went on, I'm like, maybe he's just really bad at throwing it, because eventually he just kind of just walks up and puts it in the barrel. When he climbs up the slide, I thought was kind of funny when he first like dove to get the bag back. I thought
Don't
that
go
one
up the
was
slide backwards.
Yeah, the point of this scene, I think, is just to have Brad Garrett do commentary for everything that's going on. It's like, I saw a guy get crushed by a forklift, and this is worse. It's such a great visual image.
One of them said like he's a long way from sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he feels like he's made strides, and after throwing out the bag, it just ends with him going like, I'm out of the vortex. I'm out of the vortex. And that was the conclusion of the episode.
One thing I just thought of when we were talking a minute ago is once I realized that they were on a date for sex specifically, that girl agreed to have sex with him because she wanted to have sex with his face on Putin's body. And now that joke is so much funnier to me.
She rips his shirt off and she went, damn it.
It's like, well, not a sexy man on a horse.
But yeah, no, that was the whole episode. I mean, we talked about it a little bit in the beginning. I'm kind of surprised if the show was well received. And if you look at the scores, again, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, it looks like people like the show. But I don't know. It's just kind of again like these networks aren't figuring out how to get eyes on the episodes anymore, and then they blame the show.
It's, you know what it could be is no one's watching TV anymore. You catch everything streaming, so you're not seeing a commercial. So unless you get an ad before another thing, but you're paying for ad free, it's like,
Well, you have to like pump it on your home screen. It has to be like the thing that comes up when you first.
Yeah.
And that's like I said before too. Like there's so many things that exist on these streaming sites that you don't even know they're there. Like there's just unless you're typing it in randomly, like you're never gonna find it.
And if you watch anything that has ads, like say you watch a movie on Tubi or something, or you're watching one of those like Pluto or whatever, you're just getting ads for like local businesses and like Buick dealerships. You don't get ads for other content. So even when you're watching commercials, you don't know about any of that stuff anyway.
But yeah, I think we've talked about this for a good amount of time. This is actually a pretty long episode, so
This is a surprisingly long episode. I did not think this was going to happen.
it could happen. It was the first time we had the five of us together again, so I think we're all just chatting up a little too. But as if we don't all talk every single day, which we do. But I'll just go in the order I see you in. Joe, starting with you.
Yeah, this is a green light. I liked the show when it was on. I was very sad when it got canceled. I don't know if it was maybe because of COVID, because that's around when this got canceled, and they were really cutting stuff off, and maybe this is just a casualty of that, but I think the chemistry works. I think the kids are good because they're used sparingly, and give just enough personality that you want to see where their storylines will eventually go. I think Brad Garrett is so funny in this. I was like Ferg, even though I've seen this before, I did want to keep watching it, and I didn't want to get confused because I know the second episode is just going to confuse and muddle the storylines.
it does.
Yeah, see, so I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, I liked the show. I don't think the cringe is cringy enough to make you not like it. I think it's to make you realize who this character is, and it helps you to get through his arc. I think it's a good one for me.
Ferg.
I'm a man who hates cringe, stuff like that. But when it's purposeful, like this character, it doesn't bother me. You're supposed to hate him. So Gordo, you went into the show wanting to hate it, so you only saw the bad. It's an easy green light from me. I thought every character had really good chemistry with each other. I thought they showed you a very large cast. You got to know each character pretty well, what they're all about. I found it very relatable as, at one time, a single parent and with a kid in school and trying to avoid doing all the stuff that they're trying to avoid. Also, dropping off your kid, it's tough to let go on their first day of school. I went through all that, so, maybe it had a little spot in my heart, so it got a little bit of a boost. I could see another planet where Ferg hates that singing part, but I'm never going to hate a fucking Disney song on a show I like. So, that's a green light for me.
Gordo.
So I don't like the main character. I thought everything he did was cringe and it was just embarrassing. But I didn't, like I said, I did not like a minute of this show. I can see though why people would like it. Like there is chemistry between the characters. It has a premise that can lend itself to wanting to see episode 2, I guess, just to see their hijinks. So it doesn't surprise me that people like it. Personally, I don't, but I can see why people like it. So just because I cancel it, because it's my preference, does not mean that it's not a good show for other people. Clearly, I'm in the minority here. I just thought it not good. I just thought it wasn't good. So cancel for me.
Yeah, I mean, you're allowed to not like it, by the way, as much as we don't agree with you. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all entitled to our opinions.
No, but I recognize that it has elements that would make other people like it.
Nick.
I'm up until like right now, I'm like wavering on this show, really. I love the cast minus, like, I'm kind of with Gordo. Like, I really don't like Darren Killam. This show didn't change my mind on him at all. I think he's just like a really basic vanilla actor with no, like, I don't know, there's no, like, need or want to ever watch him in anything. It just drives me nuts. But, like, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of, juxtaposed to someone like Brad Garrett, who's, like, really great on screen, and especially in this role. Like, this is a really good role for him. The rest of the cast, too, like, they mesh really well. I just, like, I can't get over how lazy this concept is. and there's no layers to it, and it's just a kind of like a reason to like here have a TV show and like okay we'll do this, and it just sucks because like I said, like I think there's a lot of potential with the cast and maybe even with the story. Like I just don't see it, and I'm not thrilled about wanting to continue watching it. It just seems like really bland and unoriginal, and I laughed, and it's not like a really hard cancel, but it's definitely a cancel though, unfortunately for me.
Finding myself in a tiebreaker situation here. I'll say that when I first was watching it, I was really, really torn, and I was more settled in after the second viewing, which I don't know if that's fair or not, because you really like your first opinion is kind of what we want to base it on, but I always end up watching the episode a couple times. My biggest faults with the show was all like pacing stuff. So I really didn't like how elements of the story felt rushed, or like we said, there were lines that could have changed. Like I felt like the bones of the show are good. The characters were good. I enjoyed watching it, but I did feel like the writers like basically put the first draft out and just stuck with it. And like there needed to be some edits here to make things more cohesive. And I think like that would have taken this from being a good episode to a great episode if they just touched up some stuff. But with that in mind, I do enjoy the show, and I think that there's enough here for me to be invested in these characters and like the chemistry. So I would want to watch more of it. So I'm going to go ahead and give it the green light. So with that being said, congratulations to single parents. You do pass with 3 out of 5. I want to thank everybody who listened. Again, go to S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find all of our links to social media, our merch site, all that stuff. Everything that you guys do to support us is noticed and super appreciated. If it's buy a shirt, that's awesome. If it's just shooting us a DM and telling us that you like what you hear, that's also super appreciated. So do any of those things, and it means the world to us. But we won't keep you much longer, so thank you. Come back next week with another new episode. Until then, thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best Kelly Ripper.